If only she knew the old blind beggar was the missing king, she wouldn't have mocked him at the market. Listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you is not a small thing. There is a market in the town of Okafor, loud, dusty, full of noise and color. Women sell yam and pepper. Men argue over prices. Children weave between legs like water through cracks. On this particular morning, the market stopped, not slowly. All at once, a young woman named Amara was standing in the middle of it all, screaming. Her wrapper was torn at the shoulder. Her voice cracked like dry firewood. Her eyes were wide with fear and shame. Around her, people pointed their phones at her face. But that was not what froze the market. What froze the market was what was happening 10 steps away. 4 men dressed in black, big men, quiet men, serious men, had formed a wall around one person, an old man, blind, leaning on a crooked stick. Dressed in rags you could almost see through. These powerful men were protecting a beggar. Amara looked at the men, then at the old man, then back at the men. Her mouth opened. "Why is he protected?" she screamed. One man turned slowly and looked at her. He said nothing, but his eyes said everything. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Because you touched what you shouldn't." 3 days before that morning, Amara woke up to the sound of water dripping. Not rain, not a tap, the ceiling. Again. She lay on her thin mattress, staring at the dark stain spreading above her head like a bruise on the sky. She had stuffed a rag up there twice already. It didn't help. The room she shared with her 2 younger siblings smelled of damp cloth and yesterday's soup. Her sister, Laura, slept curled up like a snail. Her brother, Taiwo, snored with his mouth open. Amara sat up and looked at the debt note pinned to the door. 72 hours. The landlord had come yesterday with his wide neck and narrow patience. "Pay or pack," he had said. "I am not running a charity." Amara had nodded and smiled like a person who had a plan. She did not have a plan. She opened her phone and scrolled. Girl in a boat, girl in a hotel, girl with a gift bag, girl on a plane. All smiling, all glowing, all soft. Amara's stomach growled. She closed the app, then opened it again. Then a notification appeared, a direct message from an account she didn't recognize. The name read, Nadia Bright. The message said, "DM me if you're ready to blow." That same afternoon, Amara went to the market to sell. She had 12 tomatoes, some crayfish, and a small bag of pepper borrowed from her neighbor, Mama Bisi. If she sold everything, she might make enough for bread and Gary, maybe enough to send Taiwo to school on Monday. She spread her things on a small table near the entrance and waited. The sun was high and unkind. A woman in a lace blouse walked past, looked at the table, and wrinkled her nose. "Is this your best?" she asked. Amara said yes. The woman laughed, not a kind laugh, the kind that sits on you long after the person has gone. "These tomatoes are half dead. Do you want me to pay for rubbish?" The people nearby giggled. Another woman added, "Leave her. She's just a dirty poor girl. What does she know?" The giggling became laughter. Amara stood very still. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes stung. But she did not cry. She had learned long ago that crying in public only gave people more to enjoy. Then she noticed something. A few steps away, near the gutter edge, sat a very old man, blind, stick in hand, head bowed. He had been there when she arrived. He was still there now. Somehow, it felt like he was listening. Zainab was the kind of friend who told you the truth, even when you didn't ask. She was also the kind of friend who made you rice when you were sad, braided your hair without charging, and prayed for you by name every morning. Amara had known her since they were 8. That evening, Amara showed her the message from Nadia Bright. Zainab read it once, then again. Then she put the phone down. "Don't," she said. Amara blinked. "You haven't even heard." "I don't need to hear. That kind of message doesn't come with good things inside. You don't know that. I know enough." Zainab looked at her. "Amara, not every open door is God's door. Some doors are traps wearing nice clothes." Amara looked out the window. The street was dark and quiet. Somewhere, A generator hummed. Somewhere else, a baby cried. "I'm tired, Zainab," she said softly. "I am tired of nothing." "I know. Laura needs school shoes. Taiwo hasn't eaten a full meal in 4 days. The landlord is going to throw us out." "I know. Then what do you want me to do?" Zainab was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I want you to be careful." Amara picked up the phone. "I don't want advice. I want results." 2 days later, Nadia arrived at the market like a woman who had never known hunger. She wore a cream blouse and wide-leg trousers. Her nails were done. Her bag was real leather. She smelled like something Amara had only seen advertised on Instagram. She came directly to Amara's table, looked at the tomatoes, and smiled. "These are fine," she said, and paid without bargaining. Then, as she turned to leave, she stopped. She looked at Amara the way a sculptor looks at clay, measuring, calculating, seeing something others had missed. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small white card. "Model work," she said. "Brand life. Events. You have the right face, the right build." She placed the card on the table. "Come, if you're serious." Amara looked at the card. The name on it was embossed in gold. She looked up. "What kind of events?" Nadia smiled again. "The kind where nobody goes home poor." She started to walk away. Then she paused once more, without turning around, and said, "But don't come with market attitude. These people can smell broke from a mile away." She disappeared into the crowd. Amara held the card for a long time. Her heart was hammering. The address on the card led Amara to a part of the city she had only seen through phone screens. A white gate, a paved driveway, a mansion so big it had wings. Inside, women in beautiful clothes moved like birds at an important gathering. Cameras flashed. Laughter was loud but careful, designed to be heard. "This is a brand shoot," she explained. "Clothes are loaned, furniture is rented, photos will look real." She smiled. "That is the job." Amara nodded and absorbed it all at once. Then she needed the bathroom. She found it at the back of the hallway. Marble floors, gold taps. She pushed the door open and stopped. A girl was sitting on the cold floor, back against the wall, knees to her chest. Her face was streaked with mascara. She was shaking. She looked up at Amara with hollow eyes. "Get out while you still can," she whispered. Amara stood there, hand on the door. "This life will finish you," the girl said. "You think it's a door. It's a mouth, and it will swallow you whole." Amara stared at her. Then Nadia's voice cut through the hall. "Amara, we need you." Amara looked at the girl once more. Then she stepped out and closed the door. And Nadia sat across from Amara in the back of a black car that smelled of leather and secrets. She spoke the way people speak when they are giving you a test while pretending to give you a lesson. "First rule," Nadia said, "you have no bad days online. You are always glowing." Amara nodded. "Second rule, no showing struggle, no showing hunger, no showing where you really come from, unless it makes a good comeback story 3 years from now." "Okay." Third rule, no morals, only branding. You smile even when you are bleeding inside. You clap for the people above you so they pull you up. Amara looked out the window. The city blurred past. "And last," Nadia said. Her voice dropped slightly. "Cut the dead weight. Broke friends make you look broke. Anyone who can't add to your image will subtract from it." Amara thought of Zainab, her rice, her prayers, her honest eyes. "What if they're real friends?" she asked. Nadia didn't blink. "Real doesn't trend," she said. "Beautiful lies travel faster than ugly truth. That's the world we're working with." The car stopped. Nadia opened her door and stepped out. "Think about it," she said. Amara sat alone in the car. She thought about it. The video took off on a Tuesday night, and by Wednesday morning, Amara had 40,000 new followers. It had been a simple thing. Nadia staged it. A delivery man rang the bell. Amara opened the door in a silk robe. She gasped at the box. Inside was a handbag Amara had never seen before that day. She had touched it for the first time 10 minutes before filming. But the way she said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this," felt real. Because for one moment, she forgot it was staged. She forgot the camera. She forgot Nadia coaching her from the left side of the room. For one real moment, she was just a girl from a leaking ceiling receiving something beautiful. And people felt that. The comments were kind and hungry and loud. She deserves it. Finally, a genuine one. Sis glowing. Goals. The landlord called the next morning. His voice had changed completely. "Amara, my dear, we can talk. We can find arrangement. You are doing well for yourself, eh? I always knew you would go far." Amara held the phone away from her ear and looked at it. Then she smiled, not at him, at the idea that this was only the beginning. She had tasted it now, and it was sweet. Amara went back to the market that Friday. Not to sell, not to beg, to be seen. She wore a yellow dress and sunglasses. She carried a small bag, borrowed, but nobody knew that. She walked slowly, the way women walk when they know eyes are following them. And the market changed. The same women who had called her a dirty poor girl now greeted her with wide smiles. "Amara, look at you. Our star. Our daughter. Come, come, I'll give you the best price." One man who had once chased her from his stall for touching a tomato too long now offered her a whole bag for free. "Take it," he said. "You are representing us now." Amara smiled. She thanked them. She moved through the market like water that had finally found its level. But near the entrance, she saw him again. The old blind beggar. Same spot, same stick, same rags. Something in her stomach moved, something small and uncomfortable, like a reminder she didn't want to hear. She looked at him for 3 long seconds. Then she tilted her sunglasses back up, turned away, and kept walking. She told herself it was nothing. She told herself she had worked hard enough to stop feeling guilty for other people's poverty. She almost believed it. It happened on a Thursday, with a crowd watching. Amara had come to the market with 2 girls from Nadia's circle. They laughed loudly. They filmed everything. They walked like the market belonged to them. A small crowd formed near the entrance, the kind that gathers when something entertaining is about to happen. The old blind beggar sat in his usual place. One of Nadia's girls nudged Amara. "Film this," she whispered, and something in Amara, the part that feared being left out more than anything, listened. She walked up to the old man. She pulled out a 50 naira note, dirty, crumpled, found at the bottom of her bag, and dangled it in front of his face, even though he could not see. "Here, grandfather," she said in a mocking voice, loud enough for the crowd. "Go and buy your last meal." The crowd laughed. The girls filmed. Amara smirked. The old man did not flinch. He did not beg. He raised his head slowly. His cloudy eyes pointed somewhere past her. In a quiet, steady voice, he said, "May your mouth not open the door your hands cannot close." The laughter continued, but Amara felt something cold run across the back of her neck. Nadia came to collect her 3 weeks later. "Tonight," she said, "you join the circle." She didn't explain further, only wear black, bring no one, tell nobody where you're going. Amara told Zainab she was visiting a cousin. Zainab said nothing, but her eyes held that look, the one she got when she was swallowing something heavy. The building sat in a quiet part of the city that did not appear on common maps. No signage. Black cars outside. Men at the door who checked names, not bags. Inside was warmth, wealth, and a hush that felt ancient. Women in perfect dresses. Men with watches that cost more than houses. Soft music, slow laughter. At the center of it all, a woman in a gold head wrap presided like a queen who didn't need a crown. Nadia leaned close. That is Madame Grace. She controls who eats and who starves in this city. Amara watched her carefully. Then a younger woman beside Madame Grace signed a paper with a silver pen. Her hand trembled. Afterward, the woman walked past Amara. She stopped. She leaned close, as though greeting her. But what she whispered was, "Once you sign, you don't belong to yourself anymore." Then she smiled a wide, empty smile and moved on. The morning after the Golden Circle event, Amara sat with Nadia over tea and finally asked the questions she had been holding. "The bags," she said, "the trips, the house from the last shoot. None of that is real, is it?" Nadia stirred her tea slowly. "Define real," she said. "You know what I mean." Nadia set her spoon down. "The bags are borrowed from a boutique that gets tagged. The trips are paid for by hotels that need content. The houses belong to agents who want exposure." She looked at Amara evenly. "Everything you see is a trade." "And the girls, the people in the circle? Paid friendships, arranged appearances. Everybody is performing for everybody." Amara stared at the table. "Then what is real?" she asked. "Results," Nadia said simply. "Followers are real. Money in your account is real. Landlords who suddenly become respectful, that is real." She picked up her tea again. "You want to ask about the favors," she said, "for the sponsorships." Amara said nothing. Nadia nodded slowly. "Sometimes it is your time. Sometimes it is your image. Sometimes," she paused, "sometimes it is something else. If you can't pay with money, you'll pay with something else." She stood. "Don't look so afraid," she said. "Everyone pays somehow." 3 months in, Amara missed a payment. It was not large, just the fee Nadia charged for managing her bookings and maintaining her access to the circle's events. But to Nadia, a missed payment was not a financial matter. It was a signal. Nadia called at 7 in the morning. Her voice was cool, clean, and precise, the way a blade is precise. "I don't carry people," she said. "I invest in people, and right now you are not performing like an investment." Amara explained the delay. A brand had not paid on time. She would sort it within the week. Nadia was quiet for a moment. Then, "There is someone who can help you. He doesn't charge money." "What does he charge?" "Your word," Nadia said. "A promise, a vow. He calls it a covenant." She paused. "His name is Babaleko, and people who leave his shop don't come back looking the same." Amara sat on the edge of her bed, phone pressed to her ear. She thought about the leaking ceiling, about Laura's shoes, about the 72-hour note on the door, about how far she had come and how quickly she could fall back. "Is he dangerous?" she asked. Nadia almost laughed. "Only if you break the deal." The shop had no name on the door. It sat at the end of a back street that smelled of burnt herbs and something Amara could not name. The walls were stained with old smoke. The windows were covered from inside with dark cloth. Nadia knocked 3 times, slow, then too fast. The door opened. Babaleko was not what Amara expected. He was not terrifying. He was simply old. Old and still, the way a deep river is still on the surface, but moving powerfully beneath. He sat behind a low wooden table. On it, candles, 3 small bowls, roots, shells, and a leather-bound book with no title. He looked at Amara with eyes that measured something invisible. "What do you want?" he asked. "Favor," she said, using the word Nadia had taught her. He nodded slowly. "And what will you give?" "My word." He looked at her for a long time. The candle flames did not move. "Your word is not enough," he said finally. "I need something you love that you have not yet counted." Amara frowned. She didn't fully understand. He smiled, very gently. You will. He reached under the table and set down a small carved bowl. Come back when fear feels smaller than hunger, he said. And then we begin. Amara returned 4 days later. She told herself she was only going to talk, only to understand. She was not going to agree to anything. But hunger has a way of making liars of us all. Babaleko did not look surprised to see her. He had already laid out the items: the bowl, a small piece of mirror, a cup of water, a pinch of salt, and a white candle. Sit, he said. She sat. He spoke slowly. The ritual was simple. Salt on the tongue, her face in the mirror. A vow spoken aloud. Never go back, she would say, and the door of favor would open. What does never go back mean? She asked. It means you will not return to who you were, he said. You will always rise. It sounded like ambition dressed in ceremony. She tasted the salt. She looked into the mirror. She spoke the words. That night, Amara dreamed. She was standing in the market. The sun was gold and heavy. In the center of the crowd, the old blind beggar sat in his usual spot, except in this dream, his lap was open and resting across his knees was a crown. Heavy, ancient, glowing, he turned his cloudy eyes toward her. Amara woke up, gasping. It started slowly, then, all at once. 2 brands sent contracts on the same morning. Then a third reached out by evening. A fashion house wanted her face on a campaign. An event company booked her for 3 shows in 1 month. A beauty line sent a full package: creams, serums, oils, and asked only for 1 post. Her phone didn't stop ringing. People who had once managed her like a favor now called her like she was doing them one. The money was real. The attention was real. The doors opened easily, like they had been waiting. Even Madame Grace invited her to a small private dinner. Just 6 women, all of them the kind that moved cities. Amara sat at that dinner and smiled and spoke and laughed at the right moments. She had learned the language well. Walking back to her car that night, she felt strong, untouchable, like the girl from the leaking ceiling had finally shed her old skin. Then her phone buzzed. A short text from a number she didn't save, but she recognized. Babaleko. It read, "First payment due soon. Do not delay." Amara stopped walking. The night air suddenly felt colder than it should. She looked around. The street was quiet, empty, but somehow she felt watched. It happened on the way to a brand launch event in Lagos. The car was hired. The driver was professional. Amara was in the back seat, doing her makeup, humming softly. Beside her sat a girl from Nadia's circle named Isioma. Everything was normal. Then the driver braked hard. A truck had swerved across the road. Tires screamed. The car spun left. Amara's compact hit the seat. Isioma grabbed the door handle. They stopped 3 feet from a metal barrier. Silence. Then heavy breathing. Then Isioma, shaking, said, "We're okay. We're okay." But when she lifted her phone to check, the screen had shattered. And through the spiderweb of cracked glass, frozen in the black reflection, was a face. Not her face, not Amara's. Something else. Isioma screamed and dropped the phone. The driver didn't look back. His hands were rigid on the wheel. That night, back in the room she now rented, a real room, no leaking ceiling, Amara called Zainab, not to talk, just to hear her voice. Zainab answered immediately, as if she had been awake, waiting. "Amara," she said. Her voice was very careful. "Something is collecting from you. I don't know what it is, but you need to stop." Amara held the phone tight. "I'm fine," she said. She was not fine. What Nadia did next, Amara did not see coming. Nadia called her to a live event, a dinner stream, she called it. a sponsored format where influencers shared stories about where they came from, how far they had risen, all of it designed to inspire and entertain. What she did not tell Amara until 30 minutes before going live was the format. The audience voted, Nadia said. They want a humility challenge. You will say on camera what your life looked like before all this. Amara stiffened. How much before? The market, the leaking room, all of it. That's personal. That's content, Nadia said simply. Do it right and you double your numbers. Refuse and I cannot keep protecting your space in the circle. The camera went live. Amara sat before it and talked about her old life, the debt note, the tomatoes, the laughter of strangers. She kept smiling. She kept her voice light, like she was reading someone else's story. The comments poured in. Half were kind, half were cruel. Then a gossip blog posted 2 hours later. Breaking: Amara has been faking her entire come-up. Insiders reveal. Amara read the headline 3 times. Her hands went cold. The comment section was already on fire. Amara confronted Nadia the next morning. She arrived at her apartment without calling ahead. Nadia opened the door in a silk robe, unbothered, as though she had expected this. You leaked it, Amara said. Nadia walked back inside. Sit down. You planted the story. I said, sit down. Amara didn't sit. She stood in the center of the room, heart pounding. Nadia poured herself water. Then she turned and looked at Amara with eyes that had stopped pretending. I didn't leak it, she said. I have it. There's a difference. She reached into a drawer and placed a phone on the table. Screen up, a recording, Amara's own voice, saying the bags were borrowed, saying the trips were staged, saying the giveaways were fake. Amara stared. When? She breathed. It doesn't matter when, Nadia said. She sat down and crossed her legs. What matters is that I have it. And as long as we understand each other, it stays in this drawer. She smiled. It was the kind of smile that has no warmth anywhere inside it. But if you ever try to leave me, she said quietly, I will end you, not roughly, not messily. I will simply press send, and the internet will do the rest. It came down like a building in a storm. Fast, loud, and total. Nadia sent everything. The receipts showing the borrowed bags, screenshots of the staged giveaway coordination, DMs where Amara laughed about her audience calling her authentic, a photo of her standing in the rented mansion, not smiling, bored, waiting for the shoot to end. She didn't release it through one source. She sent it to 5 blogs at once. They all posted within an hour of each other. By noon, Amara was a meme. Her face, mid-blink, from a screenshot, was being captioned and passed around like a joke at a loud party. The brands moved quietly. No announcement, no explanation. They simply deleted their posts with her, removed her tags, blocked her account from their pages, one by one like lights going out. Madame Grace did not call, did not message. It was as if Amara had never sat at her table. The golden circle closed its door without a sound, and by evening, even the market traders, the same ones who had clapped for her, called her our star, were posting laughing emojis under the gossip pages. Amara sat in her room and looked at the wall. She had climbed so high, she had fallen so completely. In the days that followed, the silence from people was louder than any insult. Friends stopped picking up. Invites dried up. The event company sent a polite email explaining they were reviewing partnerships. The beauty line requested the products back. Amara walked through the city like a person wearing a sign she could not remove. Strangers recognized her face. Some whispered. Some pointed. Some laughed outright. She moved back into the old room, the one with the leaking ceiling, because she could no longer pay rent on the new one. The ceiling had not been fixed. She lay on the mattress and stared at the old dark stain and thought about how nothing had truly changed. Except now more people knew her name and used it badly. Laura brought her water. Taiwo sat by the door, unsure what to say. Zainab came. She brought rice. She sat on the floor without a word. She didn't say, "I told you." She waited. Then softly, "What do you need?" Before Amara could answer, there was a knock at the door. She opened it. Babaleko was standing there. He was not threatening. He was simply present, the way a bill is simply present when it arrives. "You wanted shine," he said quietly. "Now pay." Amara let him in because she didn't know what else to do. Zainab stood and moved to the corner, arms folded, eyes sharp. Babaleko sat on the edge of the bed. He looked only at Amara. "The favor has been enjoyed," he said. "Now it comes back to me in full." "What does that mean?" Amara asked. "It means I require what I told you I would require. Something you love that you have not yet counted." "What is it?" "You'll know when I take it," he said. "Unless—" He paused. He reached into his coat and set a small dark bowl on the floor. Inside, ash, a black stone, dried petals. "Unless you choose the other path." "What path?" He looked at her steadily. "Nadia," he said. "Speak her name into this bowl. Say what she has done to you, and by morning you will see results." Amara looked at the bowl. She thought of the recording, the smiling without warmth, the cruelty dressed in silk, the way Nadia had built her just to own her. "And after?" Amara asked. "After, we are settled," he said. Zainab said quietly from the corner, "Amara, don't." Amara's jaw hardened. She leaned toward the bowl. She spoke Nadia's name. She said what had been done, every detail, every betrayal. Her voice never shook because she was past shaking. She was in the cold place that sits beyond tears. The candle Babaleko had lit, small, white, turned blue, just for a second. Then it returned to normal. He picked up the bowl. He nodded once. He left without a word. By morning, Amara's phone showed her the results. Nadia's biggest brand partnership had cut ties overnight. Her account was suspended. Screenshots surfaced showing her coaching influencers to fake accidents for sympathy content. The golden circle quietly distanced itself. Nadia's followers left like water from a cracked pot. By noon, Nadia herself ran into the market, still dressed finely, but with wild, frightened eyes. She pushed through the crowd, searching. Then she stopped. She was staring at the blind beggar in his usual spot. She pointed and shouted, "That man! That man! He is not who you think. He is something. He is not just a beggar. I'm warning you." The crowd looked at her like she had lost her mind. But Amara was at the edge of the crowd, and Amara heard every word. The market did not understand Nadia. They hushed her. Some laughed. A trader told her to go home and sleep. She was led away, shaking, still pointing behind her. Amara stood at the edge of the crowd and looked at the old man. He sat as he always sat, stick in hand, head bowed, rags hanging loose, the same blind eyes pointing at the same invisible place. Then the black cars came, 4 of them, moving in slow convoy, stopping at the market entrance. The men who stepped out were unlike ordinary men. Their bearing was military, but something older. They moved with purpose that silenced the noise around them. They entered the market and formed a wide circle around the blind man. Nobody spoke. The tallest man bowed his head and said something low and formal. The crowd parted, confused and afraid. Amara could not move. The old man raised his head, and his cloudy eyes, somehow across the distance, seemed to find her. He said, in a voice that carried without being loud, "You laughed at me, my daughter, But you were not laughing at a beggar." He paused. "You were laughing at your own test." Amara's mouth went dry. Her legs stopped working. The market had never been so quiet. The truth came out like a river that had been waiting behind a wall. The blind man was King Adara, the missing king of the Okafor line, who had vanished 18 months earlier. He had gone into hiding by choice, not from enemies. He had wanted to see his people as they truly were, not as they performed for royalty. So he sat among them, as a beggar, as nobody. He watched who gave freely, who gave to be seen, who passed without seeing at all. He had watched Amara, the mockery she had filmed, reached the royal circle through a market security camera. It confirmed where the king was hiding and wrote her name into a debt deeper than anything Babaleko could collect. Before being led away, the king stopped at Amara. "There is one way out," he said quietly. "Return what you stole, the pride, the lies, the revenge. Confess publicly, walk clean," he paused, "or keep the power, and lose something you truly love." The car door closed. Amara stood alone in the market, holding nothing. Behind her, Zainab spoke softly. "What do you choose? The easy way always sends a bill. The question is whether you are ready to pay it." If you were in Amara's shoes, what would you choose? Public confession and peace, or secret power with a hidden cost? Drop your answer below. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.